She was set up as a joke on a blind date, but what this single dad CEO did next was transformative. Sarah stared at her reflection in the mirror, adjusting her hair as if it could somehow change the way she felt. A night out on the town, at least that's what her friends said. Just a little fun. They insisted, nudging her toward the dating scene, but all she could think about was the weight of expectation pressing on her chest. She was a single mother to a bright, curious 7-year-old, and every time she ventured out, anxiety twisted inside her like a cold knot. Desperate to juggle motherhood and a career in graphic design, she felt utterly out of place between promises of romance and the relentless chaos of life. The restaurant was upscale, too polished for her, filled with laughter and chatter. When Tom, the so-called hotshot CEO, walked through the door, she felt a chill run down her spine. He looked the part, tailored suit, confident stride, but she could hear whispers of doubt ricocheting in her head. What did they really have in common? A blind date felt less like a chance at happiness and more like a peek into a world alien to her. As they exchanged pleasantries, her own insecurities tangled with his superficial charm, transforming the evening into a cumbersome dance of shallow conversation and forced smiles. Before she knew it, they were discussing wealth and status, as if those were the only currencies that mattered. Sarah's stomach churned. "It's great to be ambitious," she managed to say, but inside, she braced herself against judgment and ridicule. Did he see her as nothing more than a single mom? A punchline to pass around? Tension crackled between them, every question feeling like a barrier against connection. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Tom's attempt at humor landed badly. A careless comment that made light of parental demands made her face burn with embarrassment. Did he think he was being funny? Instinctively, her thoughts turned dark. She felt like the punchline of a cruel joke, shoved into a position meant to entertain others. And for what? To mask her loneliness with a farce of a connection? Fury bubbled within her as the undercurrent of resentment grew stronger, and the thought of leaving swelled like a scream stuck in her throat. At that moment, she stood up, a resolved storm brewing in her chest. "I can't do this," she said, her voice trembling before she turned on her heel, forcing tears back. Every step away from the table felt liberating and frightening, like she was breaking the chains that bound her to expectation. But then, she heard footsteps behind her. Tom was chasing after her. The sheer weight of vulnerability surged again as he caught up, an unexpected softness in his eyes as he apologized. She caught glimpses of sincerity, but also unease. Perhaps he was more than just a title. With each exchanged word, her heart waged war against her judgment. Just when she thought she understood him, shadows of doubt whispered loudly. If his life was perfect, what could he possibly understand about hers? And for the first time, the question lingered, could two broken souls truly find a sense of wholeness together? Uncertainty gripped her with icy fingers, forcing her to confront the most profound anxieties of her life, unveiling an emotional pressure that could either bind them or tear them apart entirely. As the crowd buzzed around them, Sarah felt the world pull apart, leaving only her and Tom in a bubble of wavering uncertainty. She could see the flicker of confusion in his eyes. He hadn't expected her reaction. Why had she reacted that way? Beneath the embarrassment of walking out was a burgeoning defiance that coursed through her veins. This moment called for validation of her worth, not just a slapdash experience to check off a social box. "I'm sorry if that came off wrong," Tom said, his tone lighter now. "I just thought what? That being a parent is a joke?" She interrupted, surprised by the sharpness in her voice. She never intended to unleash her frustration on him, yet the words flowed, a floodgate she couldn't hold back anymore. "As if my life is a series of punchlines that don't connect?" The shock that crossed his face startled her. She hadn't expected to speak out so vehemently, nor had she anticipated how liberating it felt to confront someone with her truth. Maybe this was why her friends had pressed her into the dating scene, to reclaim her voice. Perhaps this was her much-needed catharsis. "I didn't mean to disrespect you," he replied, his voice steady, carrying not the hint of a patronizing tone. "I was trying to make light of the chaos we all face, and guess what? My life isn't perfect either." Suddenly, her defensive armor began to crack under that admission. It forced Sarah to pause and take a breath, reassessing the situation. This wasn't just an audition for her love life, it felt like a trial run for her self-worth. Was it possible she'd operated under her own misconceptions? "Look, I get it. I really do. Every day feels like it's stacked against us," he continued, a newfound sincerity threading through his words. That glimmer of connection sparked something deeper inside her. Maybe his intentions weren't just superficial, it felt like an earnest desire to break through the barriers they'd both constructed. "What do you mean by that?" Sarah asked, intrigued despite herself. "My mother raised me alone," he confessed, shifting his gaze to the ground as if the weight of his past hung around his shoulders. "I had everything materially, but she worked 3 jobs to keep us afloat. There were moments when I wished I could be like the kids at school, who had both parents. Trust me, my life was not a fairy tale." Her heart shifted, understanding hung in the air like an unspoken pledge. The common ground they stood on was palpable. "I never would have guessed," she admitted, looking up to meet his eyes with an intensity that matched the gravity of their words. "You don't come off as someone who has had to fight for anything." "Because that's it," he replied, determination sparking in his tone. "I've spent years building a facade, one I thought was empowering. Just like you might be doing right now. But maybe it's time we both stopped pretending." A quiet bravery surged within her, igniting a longing to peel back the layers that had sheltered her vulnerability for years. Perhaps their conversation could transform into something real. Her insecurities, his arrogance stripped bare. As the evening wore on, they navigated the contours of their experiences, clumsy yet courageous in their exchange. Bit by bit, shared moments of laughter exchanged the weight of judgment, unearthing nuggets of vitality she had buried in the recesses of her heart, but as Sarah returned home, tucking her son into bed, she could feel a fracture cracking her world open. Who was she becoming? And what did she truly want beyond the confines of a single mother's role? Would she allow the burgeoning spark of possibility with Tom to carry her forward, or would fear pull her back into the shadows of doubts? The gentle whispers of her insecurities clawed at her resolve, fighting against the clarity she had gained. The little moments of courage wouldn't be enough without a sustained commitment to change. Tomorrow, she had a choice to make, not just about Tom, but about her journey, her path to self-identity. The moment of truth was looming. As dawn broke, a veil of uncertainty hovered over Sarah. She brewed her morning coffee, the ritualistic movements grounding her amidst the whirlwind of thoughts that threatened to engulf her. The warmth of the mug in her hands was the only semblance of comfort. Her mind replayed the previous evening. Tom's revelations echoed in her thoughts, like the rhythmic pulse of her heart. Why was she still holding on to her fears? The silence of the house was deafening as she watched the sunlight filter through the window, casting shadows that danced across her kitchen table. Her son would soon wake, filling the space with warmth and laughter. But how could she model strength and authenticity for him if she continued to exist behind a mask? What did she want for herself? The resilience buried under motherhood, or the potential of a new relationship, one that could break the pattern of self-doubt? Setting the coffee aside, Sarah opened her laptop, determined to take a step toward change. A small online course titled Reclaiming Your Voice caught her eye. It was designed specifically for single parents seeking to rediscover their identities outside of their roles. Her finger hovered over the Enroll Now button, the decision requiring both enthusiasm and trepidation. This was her lifeline. She could learn to translate her lived experiences into actionable change, yet, another internal voice whispered doubts that flooded her mind. Was this self-indulgent, a distraction from her responsibilities as a mother? The nagging thoughts fought against her newfound clarity. But what was self-sacrifice without a sense of self? She had spent countless moments putting her needs on hold, afraid of what pursuing her aspirations might entail. With a decisive push, she registered for the course. The immediate sense of accomplishment was intoxicating, setting her pulse racing with possibilities. But that rush was soon accompanied by a wave of fear. What if she failed? What if exploring her aspirations led her to abandon her son? Each question layered more uncertainty onto her quiet resolve. The day crept forward, with every interaction feeling laborious. She caught herself flipping through lessons on empowerment, participants sharing their stories, their struggles, evolving into tone-shifting narratives. Each testimony resonated, unraveling threads that wove together her fears and hopes. Tom's image flickered in her mind as she immersed herself in the online community. The way he had opened up made her feel less isolated, as if they had both stood at the edge of darkness, beckoning each other toward the light. Perhaps she could embrace her journey towards vulnerability in tandem with this resurgence of self. Later that evening, as she tucked her son in once more, her heart swelled with conviction. She would not just be a single mom, she was also a woman in search of her identity, ready to confront her fears. On her phone, she texted Tom, both exhilarated and terrified. "Can we talk? I want to explore where our conversation left off." As she pressed send, a knot of anticipation and apprehension twisted in her stomach. What if he had been merely a fleeting moment, a friendly face in a crowded room, but perhaps more importantly, what if this was the turning point in her evolving narrative? She had taken charge of her own ambitions. She would no longer allow the shadows of doubt to stifle her. Her screen blinked to life with a reply, and as she opened the message, a thrill coursed through her veins. "Absolutely. I'd like that. Let us find time to discuss more." In that moment, the potential for transformation tinged the air, setting her heart ablaze with both excitement and fear. The boundaries of her world had just expanded, but the next step was daunting. What awaited her beyond the confines of this newly drawn line? The next morning, Sarah woke with a swell of energy, an unfamiliar sunrise igniting a new resolve within her. She stretched, sourcing the strength to confront both her fears and anticipations. Today marked the beginning, though she didn't yet know what lay ahead. After dropping her son off at school, she found herself standing again by her laptop, drawn to the course, her lifeline to self-discovery. Clicks and taps ushered her into a virtual space filled with promise. The interface was welcoming, designed to dissolve barriers, not just educational but transformational. Each module was a doorway, leading her closer to the woman she strived to become. As she delved into the first lesson, her heart raced with vulnerability, a testament to the courage fluttering inside her. "Why did I wait so long?" she muttered, digesting ideas about reclaiming her voice. The narratives of others who shared their truths sparked something inside her. Their struggles mirrored hers, the longing for identity, the fight against the roles imposed. They were colorful threads weaving a fabric that echoed her recent choice to disrupt her self-doubt. By the afternoon, Sarah's path was illuminated by new possibilities. She began drafting her reflections, spilling thoughts onto the virtual page as if cleansing her soul. She wrote about her experiences, frustrations layered over joy, uncertainty married to deep-seated hope. In articulating her journey, fragments of clarity emerged. Could she be both a dedicated mother and an individual claiming her rightful space? The question danced around her as she wrote, as if challenging her every preconception. Her phone buzzed, jolting her from her thoughts. Tom's text cut through her reverie, suggesting a time to meet after work. An adrenaline rush coursed through her. It didn't feel like coincidence. This meeting was another stepping stone, a mark on her map leading her away from the shadows that clouded her resolve. She felt exhilarated and terrified, awareness pinching her heart. What lay ahead could open doors she didn't even know existed. The meeting came quickly, with preparations amplifying her nervousness. She chose her outfit carefully, wanting to appear confident yet approachable. Despite her self-consciousness, she caught glimpses of transformation in the mirror. There was more to her than the labeling of a single mother. She was a woman forging a new life, deliberate and alive with ambition. As the clock ticked away, Sarah sat at the cafe, the aroma of brewed coffee filling the air. It felt like a metaphor, a blend of something ordinary rich with possibility. She rehearsed her thoughts, questions bouncing through her mind. What did she truly want from this interaction? Was it merely connection or potential partnership? And what did it mean for the journey she was on? A chill ran up her spine as she spotted Tom walking towards her, his presence resonating familiarity. They exchanged pleasantries, and as he sat, the atmosphere bristled with unspoken anticipation. The conversation began uneasily, both dancing around the deeper themes of vulnerability and relationship but not fully committing to them yet. Frustration bubbled up within her. She wanted to dig deeper but felt the remnants of her old self thundering within, whispering that the conversation was merely casual. However, each exchange seemed to pull at the threads of intimacy they had shared before. "Can I be honest with you?" she finally blurted, the moment feeling like a breaking wave. His eyes met hers, inviting but intense. As she articulated her fears and aspirations, Tom leaned forward, echoing feelings she had yet to confront. Here was her opportunity to embrace her newfound voice, to merge her professional aspirations, her role as a mother, and her tentative connection with him into a single narrative. She could shape it, but as they delved deeper, the weight of societal expectations and the fear of failure loomed precariously overhead. Would she falter, retreating back into the shadows she fought to escape? The evening unfolded with possibilities and profound revelations until an unexpected question from Tom shattered the moment. His inquiry forced her to confront not just their potential as partners but her readiness to embrace change in her life. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, the gravity of his words hanging over her like thick fog. This was the moment of truth, and whatever she decided could either propel her forward or push her back into the depths of self-doubt. "Are you willing to really explore what this could be?" Tom posed, his gaze steady and searching. In that moment, Sarah was faced with a decision that could redefine everything. Would she break free from the constraints holding her back, or would she remain tethered to the fears gathering around her? The tension in the air thickened as Sarah gathered her thoughts, the walls of her perceived limitations curling inward. She felt the stir of doubt, a quicksilver sensation, darting through her mind. What had begun as a moment of hope threatened to dissolve into an echo of her insecurities. The coffee shop buzzed around them, voices blending into an indistinguishable hum, but all she could hear was the pounding of her heart. "Explore what this could be," she whispered to herself, grappling with the enormity of Tom's question. Every possible scenario crashed through her mind like waves on a rocky shore. What did that exploration entail? Did it mean risking vulnerability, or perhaps approaching that age-old fear of rejection? Her reflections on motherhood and personal identity outweighed the simplicity of his invitation, shifting the conversation into a realm of complex intertwining desires. "Sarah?" Tom's voice cut through her spiraling thoughts, reverberating with both warmth and anticipation. "What are you thinking?" She blinked, the sensation of gravity returning to her surroundings. In that moment, she understood, this was not a conversation about two people forging a casual relationship. This was about confronting the lives they both brought to the table, shaping them into something meaningful. Behind her fears lay a yearning, one so potent it tugged at her heartstrings, a desire for connection, partnership, and maybe even love. "I think we should," she hesitated, then took a deep breath, finding resolution within the uncertainty of her emotions. "We should explore what this could be. But I also need to be honest." Tom nodded, encouraging her to bravely tread forward. "I'm listening. There's so much at stake for me. My son is my world," she began, seeking her grounding while pushing past the boundaries she had previously constructed. "Every decision I make ripples outward. If this is to be anything real, I need to know you're on board with that." Words flowed from her, imbued with the strength of newfound clarity buffered by her relentless dedication to motherhood. Tom's expression revealed a depth of understanding, an acknowledgement of the complexities she had just laid bare. "I'm here for it however it works. I understand what being a single parent entails. It's challenging, but that doesn't mean it can't be beautiful too." A wave of relief washed over her. His candor and familiarity bridged the distance between them. Yet, underneath her burgeoning hope, a storm brewed. Her worries for her son surfaced. What if this blossoming connection shifted her ability to provide stability for him? Could she balance this new relationship with her responsibilities? A silent moment passed, filled with unspoken recognition of their mutual interests and fears. Tom leaned in closer, keenly aware that they were crossing into territory that could either deepen their connection or unravel it entirely. "So, are you ready to take the leap?" He pressed gently, his voice coaxing her forward. It was a pivotal moment, one that could redefine her entire existence. With each second, she became acutely aware of her dual identity, the nurturing mother battling inner turmoil against the aspiring woman yearning for fulfillment. "I am," she finally stated, grounding her voice with conviction. "But I need transparency. We can't just flirt with ideas, we must face the realities of what this means." That exchange marked a definitive shift for Sarah, a consolidation of her identity layers. No longer was she merely a mother or a woman with dreams overshadowed by the complexities of life. Instead, she would emerge as an empowered participant, capable of shaping her paths through vulnerability. The conversation shifted into deeper exploration, navigating their goals, dreams, and the threads that connected them. Yet, amidst this unfolding dynamic, doubt lingered, seeping into the corners of her mind like a shadow. The fear of falling short loomed larger than before. Was she truly ready for the vulnerability of a relationship intertwined with her new aspirations? And what if it all unravels? She even questioned, the vulnerability she sought amplifying her anxieties. In response, Tom's eyes burned with sincerity, offering a sense of safety as they ventured deeper into the nuances that could either solidify their bond or reveal a fracture line. Would they be able to transcend their past selves, making room for genuine partnership? Together, they navigated this uncharted territory, both teetering on the brink of something transformative yet still shrouded in uncertainty. Could Sarah trust that this exploration would weave into the tapestry of her life instead of tearing at the seams? The future loomed dauntingly ahead, alliances forming within her heart, while shadows of past experiences threatened to trip her up. Ready as she felt, the weight of her decision pressed upon her like a heavy cloak full of potential. Her resolve was strong, but the question lingered: as she stepped into this new narrative, would she stand her ground or risk tumbling into a space where hope and fear collided? As they walked out into the fading light, her heart raced with anticipation and trepidation, each footfall a commitment to the unknown and a promise to herself. Would this path forward lead her to the empowerment she yearned for, or would the shadows of doubt find a way to resurface? The air outside was cool, a stark contrast to the heated conversation Sarah had just experienced. The dying sunlight painted the sky in strokes of orange and purple, a vivid reminder that endings often serve as gateways to new beginnings. Stepping onto the sidewalk, she felt the heaviness of indecision start to lift, but shadows of doubt still scurried at the edges of her consciousness. "Let's take a walk," Tom suggested, his tone the perfect mix of enthusiasm and simplicity. As they meandered down the tree-lined street, she felt an exciting blend of curiosity and anxiety spiraling within her. She was walking beside a man who didn't just see a mother, he saw her potential, her aspirations. Yet, every thoughtful glance he cast her way landed on a piece of her past she'd worked painstakingly to integrate, the cautious mother, forever fearful of making the wrong choices. With every step, she focused on finding the balance between self-revelation and self-protection. Could she truly share her dreams while safeguarding her heart? The promise of a budding relationship added an intoxicating thrill, yet it came enveloped in apprehension. Leaning into her thoughts, she silently interrogated every motive. Why did she crave this new partnership? Was it to fill a void, or was it a genuine exploration of her own desires? "You're awfully quiet," Tom said, breaking her introspection as he adjusted his pace to match hers. "I'm just processing," she replied, her voice barely audible against the sounds of the city around them. "You know, about what we just discussed." "Processing can be good," he said, nodding thoughtfully. "Tell me, what are the biggest fears swirling around in your mind?" This wasn't a question she expected. It forced her to confront the truth nestled within her tangled thoughts. "I guess what if my son struggles with this change? What if I fall for you, and it disrupts everything for him? I can't be selfish about that." Tom stopped, turning to face her fully, his expression intense yet compassionate. "You're not selfish, Sarah. You're a devoted mother. I think that's the beautiful part of this. We approach this together with transparency. But falling for someone can sometimes enrich your capacity to love your child, rather than distract from it." His words settled like a warm blanket around her anxiety. She could feel something shifting within her, a glimpse of a possible future woven with additional support. "You genuinely think that's possible?" A flicker of hope intertwined with the remnants of apprehension. "Absolutely," he assured, his voice steady. "But it needs to start with open conversations about boundaries and expectations. Let us make it clear from the beginning how important your son is to you and to us." Sarah absorbed this, realizing that transparency wasn't just about her fears but also about acknowledging the new complexities a relationship might introduce. "It's critical for me that we can talk. And I do want to know that you're as invested in this as I am." "I'm all in," he replied, a confidence in his eyes that she found reassuring. "But you need to verbalize any limits as they arise. Maybe start small. Let me show you that I can be a positive part of your life." As they resumed their walk, Sarah began to see a path unfurl in front of her, one that balanced her motherhood with her identity as a woman deserving of love and connection. The potential for growth and understanding tugged at her heart in ways she never anticipated, but lurking in the back of her mind was a new worry, the realization that everything she was contemplating required action, not just words. Would she have the courage to invite Tom into her life, fully integrating this relationship into her son's world? "Tom," she finally said, glancing sideways, "what happens if we face challenges? How do we tackle them?" "Together," he stated simply, the words resonating with clarity. "We have to agree that challenges don't mean failure, they're opportunities to evolve. This is about building trust, right?" Trust. The notion felt both exhilarating and daunting as it juxtaposed her instincts. Could they mold this tenuous bond into a solid foundation? As they approached a small park, the sun finally dipped below the horizon, signaling the transition from day to night. Each moment felt like a crossroad, with paths diverging into uncertainty. Sarah hesitated at the threshold of her emotions, grappling with the next step as fear woven with excitement danced in her chest. Would she step into the light of possibility, or retreat into the darkness of apprehension? The evening air hummed with potential, but with each passing moment, she felt the stakes rise. To chase love meant embracing every aspect of herself and inviting someone into her life who could challenge and support her. "Let us take a seat," she suggested, her heart racing at the implications of her choice. As they settled onto a bench beneath the canopy of twinkling stars, a pivotal realization crashed into her thoughts. What if this leap forged the exact transformation she feared? What if this changes everything, for better or worse? She confessed, uneasily scanning Tom's face for reassurance. Tom met her gaze, his composure unwavering. "Then we adapt, explore it together." Sarah's heart thundered, the choice now lingered heavily before her, carrying the weight of her whole being. What was she truly willing to risk for this chance to reshape her narrative? The stars blinked above, casting doubt and possibility alike. How would she decide to navigate this sacred new territory? Would she leap or hold back, forever unchanged? The exploration was just beginning. Sitting on the bench, Sarah stared into the depths of the star-studded sky, pondering the vastness of her choices. She felt a palpable tension between her instinct to guard her heart and the growing eagerness to embrace new possibilities. Each twinkling star felt like a question in the cosmos, a challenge daring her to leap into the unknown. "Are you all right?" Tom's voice brought her back, gentle yet probing. The concern etched on his face made her heart swell. "Just a lot swirling in my head," she admitted, then hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I really want this to work, but I can't help but wonder if I'm being naive." Tom shifted closer, leaning in as though her words were treasures he wanted to uncover. "Naivety has its place, too. It allows us to take risks and discover joys we might otherwise dismiss. Sometimes, vulnerability leads to the most profound growth." Vulnerability. The word wrapped around her thoughts, making her contemplate past moments when she had kept walls around herself, shielding her emotions like precious artifacts. Yet here she was, with trust stowed in her heart, ready to confront her fear head-on. "Do you think I can navigate this? Balancing my feelings, my responsibilities as a mother, and a new relationship?" The query hung heavy in the air, pregnant with uncertainty. "I believe you can and you will," Tom replied, his confidence a comforting warmth against the chill of the night. "But it starts with acknowledging every truth you face." His answer sparked a realization deep within her. The journey of self-discovery didn't require perfection, just honesty. Maybe she had been holding on to the belief that she needed to have it all figured out before stepping forward. What if discovering herself was truly the adventure? Taking a deep breath, Sarah formulated the courage to share something she had kept hidden, even from herself. "You know, in thinking about how this might affect my son, I also realize I've neglected my own needs and aspirations. I've let fear dictate my actions for so long." Tom's eyes widened, encouragement radiating from his expression. "That's a huge acknowledgement. So, what are those aspirations?" Caught off guard by the question, she paused. "I used to dream of traveling, starting my own business, getting a degree in graphic design. But everything took a back seat to being a mother, and I thought I'd lost those dreams." "You can reclaim those," he encouraged. "You won't be a better mother through isolation, you'll be one through your own fulfillment." Her pulse quickened as light broke through the fog of uncertainty. This new path didn't have to mean choosing between love and her identity, it could be a synthesis of both. What if her dreams could act as a bridge, connecting her responsibilities with her desires? As they sat in silence for a moment, Sarah envisioned possibilities like an artist creating a fresh canvas. The courage to pursue her own dreams could empower not only her but also her son to embrace his life fully. She could teach him about pursuing passions, even amidst struggles, equipping him with a vital life lesson. "Maybe we could explore our dreams together," she said, excitement fluttering in her chest. "What if I took that first step and enrolled in a class this month and shared the experience with you? You've mentioned wanting to learn photography, a side-by-side journey." Tom's smile illuminated the darkness, and she felt a rush of warmth. "I love that idea. We'll motivate each other. Just think about how inspiring that would be for you, for your son." The prospect ignited something within her, an exhilarating blend of hope and determination. The journey was no longer just about navigating a relationship, it was about re-establishing her identity while forging a shared path with Tom. The prospect was both intoxicating and terrifying. Each decision now felt like a thread woven into a grand tapestry of transformation, but as the gravity of her emerging plans set in, so did an uncomfortable thought: could they both maintain this blend of individuality and connection when faced with the rigors of day-to-day life? "Tom," she said suddenly, her bravery mingling with apprehension, "what happens when life gets in the way? When we face real challenges, not just talk of aspirations?" He took a deep breath, a knowing look gracing his features. "That's when we lean on each other, explore solutions, and grow. Life will always throw curveballs, it's how we stand as partners through those trials that defines us." The subtle weight of realization hit her. Learning to rely on someone, and letting herself be reliant, wasn't just a test of their relationship, it was crucial for her own growth. Would she be prepared to embrace vulnerability, navigating the inevitable struggles ahead, all while simultaneously rediscovering herself, as the stars continued to flicker overhead, Sarah felt the stakes rise. Standing at this precipice, she faced her fears and was ignited by hope, poised to take the leap. What would she unearth in the journey ahead? Determined to chase her dreams, just as she sought love, she stood. Let us outline a plan together, set some tangible goals. I can do this, she declared, her voice resolute, but even as she opened the door to possibility, shadows of doubt tightened around her. Would the reality of juggling motherhood and a relationship lead her to liberation, or would it create dissonance in the beautiful equilibrium she yearned for? The night concealed complications beneath its serene surface. With her heart resolved yet uncertainty tugging at her spirit, she was ready for the next step. But what awaited her at the crossroads of dreams and responsibilities? In the days following their conversation, Sarah's life began to shimmer with possibility. Each morning felt like a new canvas, waiting for her to paint her aspirations into reality. She had enrolled in a local graphic design class, the excitement of learning seeped into her bones like warm sunlight on a chilly morning. Yet, as the thrill ignited a spark within, pangs of trepidation whispered in her ear. Would she be able to balance this new commitment with her responsibilities at home? Her morning routine became a symphony of preparation. She'd wake up early, pouring herself into the tasks of getting her son ready for school, packing lunches, helping with homework, and keeping a steady rhythm of encouragement. But as she stood at the sink one morning, washing dishes while her son chattered about the day ahead, the relentless flicker of anxiety masked her excitement. "Mom, are you okay?" her son asked, concern furrowing his young brow. "Just thinking about some new things I'm learning," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. In truth, the thought of juggling classes and studies alongside the demands of motherhood clawed at her confidence. What if she lost sight of the balance she needed to sustain both roles? Later, in the classroom, the tension in her chest began to ease. The instructor spoke of balance, not just in design but in life, urging them to discover their unique styles without fear of judgment. Sarah began to see parallels between creating art and crafting her identity. Each stroke on paper became an exploration, an exercise in vulnerability that resonated deeply. She felt freer here, surrounded by other aspiring creatives, all with their own stories, each an invitation to be authentic, but that sense of liberation was often tempered by her daily life. After class, returning home, she found herself torn. Some nights, she struggled to focus on assignments, burdened by the weight of domestic tasks and helping her son with his own homework. Could she truly manage this, finding the energy to nurture her own aspirations while fulfilling the responsibilities that tethered her? As she settled on her couch one evening, exhausted from a marathon of work and study, her phone pinged with a message from Tom. "How's the class going? Would love to hear more," it read. The warmth from his written words made her heart flutter, his support felt like a safety net. She typed back, sharing snippets of her learning experience, the laugh-inducing instances in class. Yet, as she clicked send, she felt a sharp wave of guilt. How could she be so open with Tom when she barely felt competent herself? Was she putting on a facade of confidence? Hidden beneath layers of excitement were the shadows of self-doubt that beckoned to her anxiously. Before she could dwell further, her son bounded into the room, his face alight with energy. "Can we do a project together? I want to make a scrapbook of our favorite memories." He held out a box filled with scraps of colored paper, photos, and mementos. Sarah's heart swelled as she realized this was a chance for them to bond creatively. "Absolutely. Let us make it even more special," she replied, her exhaustion fading in the face of shared joy. That night, as they meticulously crafted their scrapbook, Sarah discovered another layer of balance. She could weave her ambitions into the fabric of motherhood, igniting inspiration for both herself and her son. Every cut, every picture they placed served as a reminder that creativity wasn't bound to a classroom, it could flourish in their shared space. Yet, amid their laughter and creativity, a seed of conflict took root. As her class assignments grew in complexity, so did the demands at home. The momentary refuge she found during her art sessions was at risk of becoming a distant luxury. Watching her son develop his own interests while she struggled to stake her claim on hers generated a gnawing anxiety, the fear that she was sacrificing her own dreams, their connection dwindling amid the busyness of life. The uncertainty loomed larger, forcing a contemplation that shook her core. Was it selfish to pursue her passions when the time spent on them could foster moments with her son? A tug-of-war between her ambitions and nurturing his dreams left her restless in the quiet hours of the night. Just as she began to spiral, a sudden thought struck her. Perhaps by openly facing these questions with her son, she could redefine their relationship. Teaching him about sacrifices, about the beauty of balancing aspirations, might serve as an invaluable lesson, an invitation to explore together. Maybe they could inspire each other instead of feeling pitted against one another in the pursuit of fulfillment. With resolve blooming within her, Sarah took a deep breath, ready to share this fresh perspective with her son. There was much to unravel still, and as they headed into what lay ahead, the prospect filled her with cautious hope. But just when it seemed she had a modicum of clarity, another message chimed in from Tom. "How about a weekend adventure? I found a cool photography class, maybe we can take it together?" Her heart raced, the thrill of a shared journey with Tom competing against her inner turmoil. Could their burgeoning relationship withstand the potential disruptions of merging their aspirations? The reality of her dual path confronted her once again, and she knew this simply was the beginning of her trials. Would this be a leap that binds them, or a risky endeavor that unravels connections she so desperately wanted to foster? The stakes rose, as did her uncertainty. It was time to confront not only her fears but to reclaim her identity in a way that would shape her future. What decision would she make? As the weekend approached, Sarah found herself engulfed in a whirlwind of emotions. The prospect of attending a photography class with Tom excited her deeply, yet simultaneously bombarded her with doubt. What would this mean for her burgeoning identity as a graphic designer? Would the time spent with Tom detract from her responsibilities at home or provide a fresh perspective to fuel her creative journey? Each thought clashed like waves against rocky shores, leaving her mentally exhausted. That Saturday morning, as her son busied himself with his toys, she took a moment to reflect in the soft light streaming through the kitchen window. Forcing herself to confront the anxiety bubbling beneath her excitement, she considered the potential value of this experience with Tom. Perhaps it could serve as motivation. It didn't have to compete with her existing commitments, rather, it could enrich her understanding of creativity and bolster her confidence. She envisioned sharing the inspiration drawn from those moments with both Tom and her son, igniting a fire that could illuminate their intertwined paths. "Mom, are you going somewhere?" Her son's innocent voice disrupted her thoughts. He looked up from his puzzle, eyes filled with curiosity. "I might be heading out for a little while," she replied, her voice steady. "But only if you're okay with Grandma visiting to play with you. We can have another scrapbook session later. Can I show Grandma my new toy?" His eyes sparkled with excitement, the weight of potential separation easing under the brightness of his imagination. As she prepared to leave, Sarah paused in front of the mirror, scrutinizing her reflection. Today felt different. She was not just a mother but an artist stepping into uncharted territory, ready to embrace a shared experience. There was strength in that duality, and she mentally rehearsed her goals for the day: learn, connect, and build on the confidence she had been nurturing throughout her classes. She resolved to approach this photographic adventure as an opportunity to explore not just her skills, but also her evolving relationship with Tom. Arriving at the class, anticipation tingled along her spine. The atmosphere buzzed with enthusiasm as participants mingled, sharing their backgrounds and motivations. Tom's warm smile cut through the chatter as he approached her, a subtle sparkle in his eye promising camaraderie and fresh perspectives. "Excited?" he asked, genuine interest illuminating his features. "It's more than that. It's like stepping into a new world," she admitted, feeling her nerves dissipate slightly in his presence. Together, they dove into the world of photography, learning about light, composition, and storytelling through images. Each exercise involved grounding concepts into practice. Sarah felt liberated behind the camera, capturing moments that spoke to her own journey: the light-filtered leaves, the laughter of fellow students, Tom's earnest concentration, yet, as the day wore on, her thoughts drifted toward her son, a nagging feeling reminding her of the responsibilities waiting at home. Every click of the shutter reflected her growth and ambition, but also highlighted the duality of her role as a parent. Would this new exploration enrich her life or fragment her focus, leaving her family yearning for more of her time? Hey, Sarah. You're capturing amazing shots. What's your vision? Tom's voice broke her reverie, prompting her to share her motivations. She paused, searching for words. A momentary flicker of uncertainty crossed her mind. I want to portray the bond between creativity and family. I guess that's what I'm trying to navigate right now. His gaze softened, and he nodded knowingly. That's powerful. Balancing your passions with your responsibilities can only make you better at both. The exchange reignited her confidence. Perhaps her exploration into photography could be a bridge, a way to connect her creative ambitions with her responsibilities at home. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow through the studio, Sarah found clarity in her aspirations. Every step taken today had the potential to carve a new path, and it felt right to include Tom in that journey. She could invite him into her world while also being a present mother, yet, just as a smile began to unfold on her lips, the instructor announced a project for the upcoming week, one that required significant commitment and time. Sarah's pulse quickened. Could she juggle this while still nurturing her relationship with her son? Her uncertainty returned as she glanced at Tom, whose enthusiasm was palpable. Would romantic entanglements complicate her newfound clarity or provide the support she needed? The decision loomed ahead, and just as doubt began to settle in her chest once more, Tom turned to her, his expression earnest. What's next for you, Sarah? Her heart raced as she opened her mouth, ready to articulate her thoughts. Was she prepared to tackle the challenge of vulnerability with both Tom and her son? Time was running thin, and the moment of truth was close. It was time to confront her innermost fears and dreams. What would she ultimately decide to prioritize? Sarah stood at the precipice of transformation, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of fresh possibilities. The pressure of balancing her identity as a mother and her evolving self as a woman pursuing her ambitions was palpable. After weeks of reflection, growth, and grappling with her fears, she knew it was time to embrace the fullness of her life. As she approached her son's school for the annual parent-teacher meeting, confidence surged within her. This was more than just a routine visit, it was a declaration of her commitment to herself and her role in her son's life. She was no longer merely a single mother, she was an empowered individual who recognized that fulfilling her dreams could coexist with nurturing her child. The meeting involved discussions of her son's progress and areas where he thrived. Each positive remark from the teacher sent waves of pride coursing through her. As they spoke, Sarah realized that investing in her own personal development didn't detract from her ability to be a good mother, rather, it enhanced it. Her vibrancy and authenticity would model resilience and ambition for her son. I've noticed he draws these incredible pictures in class, the teacher mentioned, her eyes filled with enthusiasm. He seems inspired. Did you introduce him to art at home? Indeed, they had created art together, binding their emotional experiences through creativity. That spark of inspiration ignited a realization in Sarah: she could inspire him to pursue his dreams just as she was learning to pursue hers. Art is our language, Sarah replied, her heart swelling with pride. It's how we express ourselves. Upon returning home, filled with newfound conviction, Sarah initiated a project with her son. Together, they would create a scrapbook chronicling not just their memories, but also their individual dreams and aspirations. It became a visual narrative, a two-way exploration where her son illustrated his visions while she penned her reflections. What had started as an attempt to foster bonding morphed into an expression of growth, illustrating their joint journey. That evening, Sarah texted Tom, her heart vibrating with excitement. Finished the scrapbook with my son today. Can we catch up and share dreams? I'd love your thoughts on where we're both headed. Tom's swift reply, a simple absolutely, sent butterflies dancing in her stomach. She felt buoyed by the prospect of exploring budding connections. The follow-up meeting blossomed into an insightful exchange. Over coffee at their favorite cafe, Tom's eyes lit up as Sarah unfolded her aspirations, speaking about her graphic design ventures and the thrilling potential of intertwining their interests. "It feels like we could create something meaningful together, maybe even combine photography and design," she proposed, the ideas flowing like a river unveiled. They discussed the upcoming photography project, her son's artistic journey, and forging joint paths without diminishing their independent aspirations. Transparency and collaboration emerged as guiding principles in this negotiation of shared dreams. Together, they could cultivate an environment rich in creativity and devoid of judgment. However, beneath the excitement lived shadows of doubt. "What if I can't balance it all?" she confronted herself. Fear pinged at her thoughts, whispering insecurities, reminding her of the tightrope on which she walked. But realizing those fears wouldn't vanish simply encouraged her to vocalize them. "What happens if commitments overload me?" She leaned into Tom during their meeting, seeking reassurance. Tom's gentle gaze grounded her. "That's okay," he reassured her. "We'll set realistic expectations. You're already showing dedication by taking steps to engage both as a mother and as an artist. That balance is what matters." The validity of her struggles was acknowledged, mixing hope with a budding belief that she could transcend her limitations. As the weeks passed, Sarah's dedication to her aspirations intensified further. She found a recurring rhythm, skillfully balancing her own creative endeavors while being an involved mother. The photography class became a canvas for her evolution. She would attend while her son engaged in after-school activities, each session fueling her creativity and motivation. They united a shared discourse, sitting together with plates of snacks, discussing art, both his and hers, overflows of ideas swirling around them. Over time, Sarah began to showcase her own work. Her photos transformed into visual stories of motherhood intertwined with her pursuits, each sharp frame reflecting the struggles she had faced and the clarity she had found. They radiated vitality. Recognition soon followed. A local art exhibit invited her to display her series. It felt monumental, a moment where the world outside would see her dedication, resilience, and metamorphosis into the confident woman she had longed to be. Standing before her showcased work on opening night, the flood of emotions hit her. Friends, family, and even Tom filled the gallery, celebrating not just her achievements but their shared connection. As accolades poured in, the realization anchored her within: she had crafted a new identity, one that harmonized both her roles seamlessly. The weight of doubt lifted into the air, replaced by fulfillment. Looking around, Sarah locked eyes with her son, who spun a delightful tale about each photo, his awe mimicking hers, a proud beacon of encouragement she had yearned for. "This is your art, Mom," he exclaimed, bursting with joy. In that moment, she understood that she had conquered more than just her fears. She had proven to herself that she was capable of weaving together various threads of identity harmoniously. With Tom's partnership, her son's growth, and her artistic journey intertwined, she emerged as a more profound and empowered individual. The night concluded with laughter, love, and the unmistakable warmth of newfound confidence, propelling Sarah forward toward tomorrow, an uncharted territory brimming with potential. She had not only embraced the two distinct realms of motherhood and personal aspiration but flourished within both. Now firmly positioned at the intersection of their shared lives, Sarah realized the true essence of her journey was not just about personal achievements but the profound connections formed along the way. The path forward awaited her, a blank canvas, ready for her to paint. It was time, she recognized, not to look back but to leap into the brilliance of her future. And as she embraced this reality, an urgent call echoed inside her: she had to encourage others to embark on similar journeys. Growth requires community, inspiration is contagious, and every step forward is monumental. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about this journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. don't wait even one more second to support the transformative stories and individual journeys that deserve to be shared.